see, intercoolers are a lot like radiators for your intake temperatures. In an ideal world, the air temperature that is going into your engine is not that much warmer than the ambient air temperature around your car. However, that's not always the case. Whether it's very hot engine bay temperatures or a really hot summer day, the temperature of the air going into your engine can well exceed that of the ambient air temperature. And why exactly is that important? Combustion engines work by mixing in the air they take in with some fuel shot into the cylinder. Add in some compression and ignition, and boom, you have combustion. Now, I don't have to have a degree in physics to tell you this next part, but hopefully I can explain it at a high enough level that you'll understand. The colder the air temperature that the engine takes in, the more condensed the air is, meaning for a given volume and pressure, more oxygen molecules will fit in that cylinder. And the lower the temperature is, more air in an engine equals more performance, aka more horsepower. So with that little physics lesson out of the way, now we can talk about how this relates specifically to intercoolers. So as you're driving down the road, you have cooler air that passes through the intercooler. And as I said, how an intercooler is like a radiator for your intake temperatures, that cooler air is passing over metal fins. These metal fins contain the intake air that is currently circulating through your engine, and as the air that is going through the fins passes over, it's cooling down that charged air that will eventually make its way into your engine. And as we know, cooler air equals more horsepower. And that's also why you will hear people with forced induction cars, so a turbo or a supercharger, say it's boost season whenever the air temperature cools down. A lot of factors can affect how efficient an intercooler is at cooling the intake temperatures. The two factors we're going to focus on for this video are placement and size. Now, in terms of placement, a term that is often thrown around in the car world is front mount intercooler. And essentially what that means is that the intercooler is at the front of this core region of the car. And that means it's in front of any other radiators or heat exchangers. So with all of this in mind, we can now start looking and talking about ARM Motorsports' newest offering for the Mk6 platform, which is their front mount intercooler race edition, or race series front mount intercooler. I forget the exact name of it. But I just want to say a huge thank you to ARM Motorsports for sponsoring this video. So if you are interested in getting this intercooler for your Mk6 or any other products that ARM offers, be sure to use code DUBCHASERS at checkout, where you can save 10% on your entire order. Hello there. So, Matthew in the future here. We are actually partnering with ARM for a 2023-2024 holiday season giveaway. So we just uploaded a video. You can check it out up here, and that will highlight all of the criteria to be entered in the giveaway. But we are giving away one of these intercoolers. The winner can pick if they want the competition or the street intercooler for their Mk6 GTI. So like I said, head over to the other video that we just posted or went up before this video. It's going to be something titled 2023 Holiday Giveaway. So pretty self-explanatory. Now back to the video. So for the past 2, 3, honestly, almost maybe nearing even 4 years now, I've been running ARM, not on anymore, obviously, but I had been running ARM's street intercooler for the Mk6. ARM claims that intercooler can net you roughly an additional 30 wheel horsepower and 40 pound-feet of torque. And then I think they say it's rated for 350 to 400 horsepower, which is plenty for my use case. However, for the people looking to really push this platform above and beyond what it was meant for, there is a problem that can become apparent once you start to get upwards 400, 500, even 600 horsepower, and that's heat soak. Heat soak happens when essentially the cooling capacity of the intercooler cannot keep up with the amount of air flowing through it. And this is usually apparent on high horsepower cars or cars with larger turbos. So this is where ARM introduced the Competition Front Mount Intercooler for the Mark 6. The Competition Front Mount Intercooler is designed for cars and car enthusiasts really pushing the limits of this platform. The total volume of this intercooler, I believe, is just shy of 800 cubic inches and is rated for cars pushing almost 800 horsepower, which is pretty incredible for a turbocharged inline four. Fortunately, ARM Motorsports was able to send us over a unit to install and compare it to their now dubbed street intercooler, which was formerly on this car. We'll go ahead and take a look at that install now. Okay, so we have the car up on the lift. We start by taking off the front bumper, the under trays, and then we can get access to the front mount in there. It'll be a pretty easy swap, just undoing 4 bolts on each side, putting on the new one, and there should be room for the big one, right?
Yeah, there will be room.
There's some modification that is going to be required. Tyler, would you be able to explain the trimming that has to be done?
There's just a lower crash bar right down here. It's just plastic. So if you just take like a little Sawzall, you'll just be able to cut it off, and it doesn't ruin any structural parts. It's just makes your front mount better. That's all it takes.
So that's already been done on this car, but just a little FYI for anyone planning to do this. Okay, so front bumper is off. You can see right here the mounting brackets that we're going to be undoing, as well as taking off the hoses, and then it's literally just a simple swap. Take this off, put on the bigger one, and when we get this one off, I'll be able to point out the cutting that Tyler was talking about earlier. So now just to take off the old one. Okay, so old intercooler is out. Here we can kind of see the trimming portion that Tyler was talking about. So normally he called it a support crash bar. It's not the crash bar, that's right here. It's just a little support brace for the basically core support. So it's just another little plastic bar that runs along here. If you do get this intercooler, you will have to cut that section out. Very easy. Just with a little saw. But yeah, so old one is out, and I believe behind me we have the new one. Might be taped in here still. Yeah, so we'll get this out, and then we'll compare it to the old one, just a side-by-side comparison. Okay, so we got them side by side right here, so you can definitely see just the size difference in both of these. So yeah, now we'll start getting this one onto the car. Everyone here is just standing around admiring how beautiful it looks. But yeah, intercooler.
I like these cars with like the big cutout in the front bumper and just a fat front mount. Like that's good.
It looks really good. So yeah, new intercooler is on. You do have to, put a little bit of force to get the bolts, or to start on the nuts on the mounts. But yeah, no, it fits. Just make sure you do the little cutout of the core support. But yeah, now I guess bumper back on, and then do some data log runs. As you can see, it's a pretty straightforward install process if you're already upgrading from ARM or even other companies' front mount intercooler, or FMIC for short, their FMIC solutions. If you are planning on upgrading from your stock intercooler, you can check out our video, which I'll link up here or even down in the description, where you can see what the process is for upgrading from your stock intercooler. Now that we have installed the Competition Front Mount Intercooler, let's take a look at how it compares to the street front mount intercooler. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the data logs that we ran before and after installing the new intercooler. And this was the test as follows. Note, This is not a scientific environment. The tests were done at different parts of the day, meaning the ambient air temperatures were different. So just keep that in the back of your head as you're looking at this data I'm about to show you. So the test was a 3rd through 4th gear wide open throttle pull. And basically this was meant to test the limits of the intercooler under load, meaning wide open throttle. The car was my Mk6 GTI, as what's been right here this whole time, which has a stock K03 turbo, so the stock turbocharger that comes on this car, and the car is currently flashed with a Stage 2 custom E-Tune from Stratified. So there is a few other performance enhancements done on this car, but for the sake of this video, we will just be focusing on the turbo, which is the stock K03, and then the 2 intercoolers that we're going between. So taking a look at the street front mount intercooler runs, we can see that the ambient air temperature was about 70 degrees at the time of testing. At the start of the data log, IATs were at about 90 degrees. And just to preface this is in Fahrenheit. As we start to apply throttle, the IATs are down to 86 degrees at the top of 3rd gear, with a low of 82 degrees near the top of 4th. The start of the 2nd run had ambient temps at about 68 degrees, with IATs at 93 degrees. At the top of 3rd, IATs had gone down slightly to 88 degrees, with a low of 84 degrees near the top of 4th. So with these results, we can approximate that the street FMIC will net you IATs that are on average 17 to 24% higher than ambient air temperatures. Now let's look at the competition FMIC. At the start of the 1st run, ambient air temperature was recorded at 61 degrees Fahrenheit with IATs at 82 degrees, significantly cooler outside than the 1st session with street FMIC. At the top of 3rd, IATs had cooled down to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and by the end of the 1st run, IATs had reached a low of 72 degrees. The 2nd run recorded ambient air still at 61 degrees, with IATs starting at 81 degrees. At the top of 3rd, IATs had dropped again to 75 degrees, with a low of 72 degrees, nearly identical to the 1st run. Calculating some percentages from these runs, the competition FMIC will net you with IATs that are approximately 18% higher than ambient air temperatures. So, what did we learn? When comparing the cooling efficiency of the street FMIC and the competition FMIC, we saw that the street intercooler had only about an 8 to 9 degree Fahrenheit temperature decrease under load compared to the competition intercooler, which had a 10 degree drop in IATs. So at the end of the day, which intercooler is right for you? And I'm going to use the basic cop-out answer and say that it really depends what your use case is. ARM advertises that the intercooler is only suitable for cars with bigger turbos, and that cars with the stock turbo will experience higher turbo lag at lower RPMs. However, during the testing, I hit peak boost at roughly 4,000 RPM with both intercoolers. However, looking at some of the data, there may have been a slightly longer delay in lower RPMs. It wasn't enough for me to notice, so if you are thinking about getting this intercooler on your stock K03 car, you should be fine. Ultimately, it's going to come down to your individual use case. If you're like me and you just use your car for a daily driver with some occasional spirited pulls on highway on-ramps, the street front mount intercooler is plenty for your day-to-day use. However, if you really want to push the limits of what this platform can handle, then you may want to actually start looking at the competition front mount intercooler. Either way, whichever intercooler you end up with, both of these options make great additions to your Mk6 GTI build. I again want to say a huge thank you to ARM Motorsports for sponsoring this video. And again, if you're considering either the intercoolers we talked about in this video or any parts that ARM offers for Audi, BMW, Volkswagen, any of their parts, make sure to use code DUBCHASERS at checkout where you can save 10% off your entire order. I want to thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.